As I'm going in the hello, I don't have any other sign up to call the meeting. And if you have extra, you can always look. Sure. All right, it's 6:01 p.m. We're going to call the Thursday, May 16th, 2024 regular board meeting, the MakikiLower PunchbowlTantalus neighborhood boards. First item on the agenda are the city and county of Honolulu monthly reports. First up, the Honolulu Fire Department. Please come up to give your report. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you guys. Okay, let's see again. Report for April 2024. Statistics for confirmed incidents throughout the geographic area. Several fires, we have zero structure fires, zero brush fires, nuisance fires, which are brush fires outside of the structure of the zero leaking fires, and 11 activated fire lines with no fires. For emergencies, we have 135 medical emergencies, 11 with a pedestrian, 10 without a pedestrian, 1 mountain rescue, 0 ocean, and 0 hazmat incidents. We also have a fire safety tip and announcement for 2024 concerning wildland fire awareness, prevention, and preparedness. Let's see. Reduce food and the possibility of ignition of the landscape by maintaining your water and cleaning your gutters. Vegetation 10 feet around campfires and barbecues. Keep a shovel and water and put them out before walking the road. Ensure machinery, chainsaw, weed trimmers, lawnmowers, regulation of spark arresters are maintained and regulated. That is all that. Thank you very much for the reports. I'm going to start with questions for those who want them online. We're going to start with Nathan Shaw. Yeah, this is two. Nathan, your hand is up. Perfect. We're going to move to Sam. Please go ahead.
We're talking earlier about fire alarm and whether you have a process that you do. I've been talking with other members of other, and they say there's quite a lot of fire alarms in apartments that go off, and that this is really common occurrence. What percentage would you say that you guys get on fire alarms that are batteries and stuff like that?
Percentage, but most of 911 calls that
are in regard to the alarm system for the whole, and malfunctions a lot of times, or post station activations, kids pull it. As far as like, I think we were talking about maybe a low battery.
Oh, yeah.
That's just a chirp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't usually get called for those. It's usually an issue of just changing the battery from the homeowner.
As you know, we're having a problem. It's not a chirp. It's,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. May I speak?
Sure. I want to have someone else on the list, and we'll open up to everyone else and get that. Sorry. Nathan Charge, do you have your question at this time?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you the first time. The sound was still getting fixed up. But anyway, so I guess it's I got alerted to the fact that normally smoke alarms actually might get set off by high humidity. I just read that on Google, and I was alerted to, I guess, a number of people having problems with their fire alarm or smoke alarm, sorry, going off at odd hours of the day because of our drastically increased humidity. Is there something the fire folks, I couldn't catch your name, I'm sorry, could recommend?
Detector to detector, but historically On the humid days, rainy days, we do get a lot more activated fire alarms. Yeah, I don't know how each system works and how you would prevent it. I know most of them don't want you to tamper at all with it.
All right, we have another question from someone in the audience. Would you mind introducing yourself and asking your question?
Judy Megan, TV here while we're here. And I spoke to the gentleman, but we're having a problem in our neighborhood. And it's not a chirping like a low battery. I know what that sounds like. This is just, it's been going on for several days and it's happened in the past. And we contacted building management and they said it's not the building that we thought it was. They think it's another building down further. So we don't know what to do. We thought doing things on the Nextdoor app, I was getting the impression that we should talk to either the police or the fire department, that they would help us. So, and we're very frustrated because the noise is beep, beep, beep. And I know what it sounds like because we had a fire in our building a few years ago and it kept going. And because there was smoke, but this is just going. We don't want to know what to do to get it to stop.
Our intention is. Yeah, I don't,
We don't know what building it's coming from. That's the whole thing.
yeah, I mean, and we wouldn't either unless we go down there and try to trace it down, the same as you guys would do.
It's right across from the fire department.
Right, yeah.
To get your contact information, we'll go through our community risk and prevention section, and then we'll see what we can do from there.
You know, this reminds me, my mother lives in Lower Manoa by Punahou, and she was complaining about this issue once. So between every beat, I would take several steps and see if it was louder or less loud. It took me half an hour to track down the building.
Yeah, and it bounces between buildings,
It
right?
bounces, and if you get too close, you're below it. You
Yeah.
can't hear it as well.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to
It's
be able to
hard,
track
yeah.
that one down.
Building management said that they and the president of the board checked today in all of their fire department. This is next door to us. And they said they thought it was coming from another building and it was echoing going through their parking garage. That's why we are hearing it. So,
Okay. Well, it sounds like you've taken the first few steps. I think Sam and I may have talked about this before, but sometimes it seems like we need a frequently asked questions thing, because we do get some similar questions. We haven't gotten this one before, but seeing as we renewed our commitment to fire safety, I imagine there's a lot of new fire alarms up in a lot of these condos. So I imagine this might be more beginning than the end of a home like this. So hopefully we can figure out some best practices going forward. Maybe if you can get back to us next meeting or two, just to make some recommendations on how we might be able to move forward to
Okay.
make recommendations to concerned residents. Sam, go ahead.
In our last neighborhood board meeting, we went down the stairs and it was locked at the bottom of the stairs. And they have a lock on the exit, and they have a throw bolt. And it's not per fire code, I can
This is
guarantee
like
that.
the building.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I've looked at this whole park. And whoever did the fire safety for this park is, you know, I used to be a building manager for the federal government, shipyard. And I've never seen so much violations. So I'm requesting that you guys do an inspection
Of
this
this facility.
yeah, of all the facilities in this park, if they follow the fire code. Because I don't think that they're following it. And I don't want to see anybody get hurt because they're not.
Absolutely. Yep, we'll follow up on that.
Okay, well, I don't see any other hands raised at this time. So let me just double check once more with our board members, the audience. Anyone else have any questions for the Honolulu Fire Department at this time? Seeing none, thank you for your report and for helping us try to navigate the situation. Okay, we're going to move on to the agenda to the Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening, Chair Ross and everyone in attendance, Lieutenant Sagusio representing the District 1 area of responsibility. Hope everyone had a great Mother's Day weekend and everybody's having a great police week. Let me get right into the stats for the past month of April. Motor vehicle thefts were 19 from the previous month. It was 14. Burglaries are up 8 From the previous month, it was 5. Thefts are 47. Previous month was 42. UMVs or car break-ins were 14, and we're kind of staying steady. Previous month was 15. Assaults were 6. Previous month was 9. Sex assault was 1. Previous was 1. No graffiti cases to report in both months. Drug offense related arrests were 4. Previous month was 4. Total calls for service for your area was 2,305. Previous month, pretty steady, 2,310. I just have one robbery that I wanted to discuss and report. It occurred on the 28th of April. It occurred in the area of King Street and Victoria. It appears to be related to the homeless encampment at that location. Blunt weapon was used in that course of that crime. But other than that, no criminal breaches at this point in time to report. So I just wanted to give the safety tip for this week, this month. It's these ongoing scams by phone, especially unnerving because they're using law enforcement as their hook, as we call it. They're spoofing apps. They utilize these apps to mask phone numbers so they look very legit. City and county, state of Hawaii. Their premise is the outstanding warrants, you missing jury duty. So first things first, law enforcement would never be calling you in regards to an outstanding warrant. We would just go to your location and effect an arrest. So we would never call for an outstanding warrant. Next thing that would be a dead giveaway would be these criminals would be asking for payment via gift cards, money transfer, Venmo, or any type of payment apps. Another dead giveaway that I've noticed from all these reports was the amounts asked for is usually $4,000 or less. And recently, I kind of had some family members were targeted, but luckily they didn't fall prey. But it seems like they're targeting recently retired people. So in regards to these scams, if you do fall prey, I know it's very embarrassing, but please, we're asking our community members to report it to authorities so that we can definitely kind of track it and see, and we can provide that information to everyone so that we do not fall victim to these criminals. Yeah. And at this point in time, I'm going to yield back the rest of my time and take any questions from the board members and public attendees.
Thank you. I'm going to share board questions online. So I recognize Claire first. Please go ahead. You're on mute.
Thank you, Chair. Aloha, Lieutenant. How do people report when they get these scam calls, scam emails? Who do people contact?
You contact 911, just say it's not an emergency. Obviously, if it's an emergency, then say it is an emergency. But usually this is just after the fact reporting these possible scams. The one thing is that we just don't want our community members to be sucked into these things. So be very pessimistic in regards to these people, yeah. Especially just like I was saying, law enforcement would never call for any type of outstanding warrants. And just to contact 911, keep all the documentation. Funny story, I just got a letter saying that I had a long lost relative in Canada that left me $11 million. I still have that letter. So I'm going to be making a miscellaneous public report just so that we can document it. It looks legit. It looks like it's coming from a attorney's firm, but that's definitely a scam. No one's going to give me $11 million.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant.
I recognize Chuck at this time.
Thanks, Chair. Lieutenant Segusio, thank you and HPD and your team for doing a good job in keeping us all safe as best you can. I just wanted to bring your attention to the the intersection of Pensacola and Lunalilo. The red light, the intersection there. There seems to be excessive amounts of cars running the red light throughout the day. Near misses happen all the time. I was just wondering if there's anything HPD could do to monitor that area more closely and let these violators know that there's some police presence and maybe some consequences if they do run the red light.
Absolutely. That's a very good question, Chuck. Thank you for bringing it up. We usually have this same issue at the intersection of Pensacola and Lunalilo. Picoy and Lunalilo. So I'm going to forward this information to my patrol officers and to the traffic division to try to see if we possibly get solo bike involved in that area, because that area is kind of tight, it's kind of very narrow. It's hard for officers to park
Right.
and kind of watch that location. But for solo bike, they pretty much can get in on the sidewalks or into the safety hashed out median and monitor that location. But I'll definitely pass that information on.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant.
Okay, questions from board members in attendance? And person, let's go ahead. Jim?
Hey, Lieutenant, it's Eric. Question about the constant racing in my neighborhood. Is there a better way to disseminate that information when I do call in? It's the same thing I'm saying, every time I do call in about it. Is there a possible, what would you suggest? Like a quicker, I just want to be concise. How many cars, which either going Talent's way or they're going my side and Round Top Drive way. Because I like to call in right away when they first start at the bottom of the mountain so that the officers could possibly catch them on the opposite side of the loop. They're coming back down. It kind of takes me a little bit of time to explain myself to dispatch. So I was just curious if there might be a easier way of.
Absolutely. So in regards to those racers, we pretty much address them as the calls come in. It's really difficult to just post an officer up at that location because it's kind of remote. Majority of the action, all of the criminality is usually occurring on the lower part of your particular neighborhood board. But please do call. Please be very descriptive to the dispatchers in which direction, how many vehicles, if you can even get make or model license plates. That would be very good information. And my officers have been stopping those vehicles and they've been getting citations in regards to expired safety registration, reconstruction. We've been, maybe not last month, but the previous month before when I was working, there were several detrimental drug cases generated from those individuals. So continue to call. I think that would be the fastest way. We'll dispatch our officers need be, but yes, more information is best.
Thank you very much. Any questions from other attendees? Please go ahead.
I'm just curious, I believe that there was a new law passed about excessive noise from vehicles. And I'm on Wilder Avenue, and sometimes those cars, especially motorcycles, they just rattle the windows. Is anything being done to, is that law in effect yet? I saw something about a new law. Is that in effect? Because they're really loud and they race up and down. They race at night. They race up and down Wilder Avenue.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a particular new law, but there's an existing law in regards to loud mufflers. Obviously, those people that are moving, those motorcycles are racing. We get a constant complaint in regards to them racing on the freeway. We've done some projects. We've notified the traffic division. There are projects on the way. We're trying to get those individuals cited, arrested if possible. But just realize this, they're on motorcycles. So we have to weigh the risk and rewards in regards to pursuing these people, right? Because obviously in a pursuit, we have to go through a whole entire investigation and the risk versus rewards, right? Because obviously if these individuals crash because they're trying to get away from us, we're ultimately liable in regards to injuries or any kind of damage. Yeah. So we have to kind of weigh that. However, we'll continue to monitor the freeway. I'll let my patrol officers on the 163 beat know about these motorcycles on Wilder and try to see if we can put some more blue lights on that street.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll open up to other attendees. Please come on.
Hi, Rich Cast. Lieutenant, we talked last month about Green Street and Ernest, about how congested that is. A lot of illegal cars parked and stuff. We also mentioned about what we could do about putting the signs or having a better way of keeping these guys from illegally parked. I know we call the police a lot. They are giving some tickets out. I did talk to an officer once that mentioned that they'll give tickets to the people that are blocking ramps, like the handicap ramps. But even if there's a sign that, says no parking around the corner, they're still doing that, and it makes it really difficult for the fire department and ambulance to get around that corner. I know that we tried at one time putting up no parking signs on the telephone pole. People are ripping them off. But I just want to see if there was a follow-up that we can look at of taking a look at that corner again, just to make it a little bit more safer and easier for people to make that turn into Ernest. Thank you.
Absolutely, Richard. So after that last meeting, I actually went up there and took a look at those signs and the location. I know which particular sign that you're talking about. I had to make notifications to DFM because there's a sticker on it. Even with that, even with the sticker, and because we all know it's a no parking sign, but with the sticker being obstructing any portion of the sign, any citation that would be resulting from that location could be ultimately thrown out by the judge. So we need to get that sign fixed. But however, we did issue some citations in the next 2 nights. So we tried to send out a message, but I'll kind of talk with my officers in that location, try to see if we can be a little bit more diligent and try to address some of your concerns in that area. Because there's a lot of illegal parking, and we realize that parking is of a premium, but we just need people that live in the area, our constituents, to park a little better, because you're very correct. It makes it very difficult for ambulance and fire to get through.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
All right, we're going to recognize Sam at this time. Please go ahead, Sam.
I don't got it.
Oh, here's Sam.
On the other side.
That's me. Thank you, Lieutenant. So I had a question. Is there a pathway to get a mobile surveillance camera or system at one of the lower turnoffs on Tantalus? I know that they have them in like supermarkets and parking lots, but something like that, just facing towards the road would be a huge deterrent for these guys racing, particularly because it's at the end of their run. So they're going to have to go past it. So, if we could get something like that stationed up there, I think maybe that could be an effective method to help mitigate some of the issues that we see.
That is a very good thing that you brought up, Sam. But just to let you know, those types of mobile cameras at the locations are not provided by the city. I think they're rented or being used privately. So I don't know if the neighborhood community organization on Tantalus would be willing to spend the money for that. However, I've tried to request for a signboard in regards to at the bottom of Makiki, indicating that all of the lookouts are closed after 10. I think that is a part of the issue too. When people go up there, that is the first citation that they get. Whenever they're parked at the lookout after 10 o'clock, they usually get a no parking, they get a parking violation citation, which leads us into other investigations as we get, deeper into the police contact. But and we also need to get all of the signs refurbished. If I'm not mistaken, I think 90% of the signs up there are either dilapidated, covered with graffiti, stickers, or even missing. So we actually are issuing citations still, but so far they've been paying it. However, they could technically fight it and beat it due to the fact that the signs are so run down.
Thank you. Is there a place that we can go to get more information about those mobile surveillance sites that you know of?
No, not offhand, but you could probably speak to like somewhere like Safeway or Petco that's on Beretania. I think they're utilizing it too, and it has helped them in their situations over there.
Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right, recognize Claire at this time.
I'm back. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lieutenant. Our bright and shiny new stop signs at the 5-way intersection of Alapai and Prospect. And well, we think they say stop, but actually they say touch and go and keep going. So for pedestrians, it's been unsafe from the beginning because that one down by Iolani is too far away and you can't make eye contact with the driver before you cross the street. You know, how we like for pedestrian safety, pedestrians try to make eye contact with the vehicle drivers and wave and make sure it's clear to cross. Well, they're too far away. But the bigger problem that I'm encountering is people are getting used to it being a low traffic area at certain times of day and they're blowing right through the stop sign. And I almost got my front end taken off the other day by someone who, with a big handicap placard in her windshield, just blew right through the stop sign, going Eva bound on Prospect. So I don't like to present a problem without a potential solution, but that's such an open area. There's nowhere for police to hide and monitor. But if you have any possible solutions to monitoring and getting people in line that it says STOP stop, I'll be happy to hear that. So it, you know, because we're going to lose that safety factor. There's going to be a big crash soon, you know.
Absolutely. So I really want to commend the board in regards to getting those stop signs put up. It actually helps. It actually reduce some of the traffic incidents, as we call it, and maybe even some of the collisions, because we will never know because they never happen, right? But it was this board that got those signs put up. I'll go and check that location right after this when I hit the road, and I'll try to see if I can come up with some sort of solution. I'll get back to you in regards to that. But it has helped in that area. I just want you guys to realize that any stop sign, there's a lot of people that do the touch and go. But maybe with my blue light there, observing it for a little bit, maybe it'll kind of change people's minds.
Yeah, the reminder is needed, but we are in this community, and you know, when walking my dog, I can cross that street 12 times a day. So I know the pedestrian safety is a very big issue, but as a community, everyone is so happy, even for the slowed traffic. But I'm noticing now people just blowing through the stop sign. So it's kind of time for that blue light reminder. Yes. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, we have Miley with us. Please go ahead.
Aloha, and thank you so much, Lieutenant Segucho, and your officers. I'm new to this neighborhood, and I think what I wonder about, and I hear almost every night, is I wonder about the domestic violence reports. Is that included in the assault numbers that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, they sometimes are. Sometimes these abuses become upgraded to assault seconds due to the fact that sometimes it's the age that causes it to bump up to a felony offense. But yes, but just realize this. So Makiki is a very specific, and it's kind of a location that's full of residents and high rises. A lot of people in close proximity to each other. Tensions sometimes get high. And yes, we do. Majority of the cases in the Makiki area is of abuse type cases or family argument cases. We just want our community to be a little bit more patient with one another. And just like I said, sometimes it's just good to go and take a walk sometimes, because an argument just never ends well if you continue. Yeah. So yes. So to answer your question, yes, it's part of some of the assault cases that we do have.
Okay, and I think the challenge that I'm facing is it's hard to pinpoint where certain things are coming from,
Yes.
right? And I'm just wondering if things are getting reported, because like where I'm at, it's hard to really tell, but I'm just wondering if there are reports coming in, like are people calling and things like that, because I just worry, because I hear things, you know, I hear so much like cursing and I'm gonna call the cops and like all that kind of stuff, you know. And so I'm just hoping that someone who knows where it's coming from is reporting these things, you know.
Best thing to do, Miley, is just to continue to call and have the
Okay.
officer. Yeah, just continue to call and have the officers come and service that call. You'd be very surprised. Sometimes when we get particular calls where they don't know exactly where they're coming from, the officer knows, because it's usually coming from the same apartment or
Okay.
from the same couple, and you know, so on and so forth. So The best thing is to get involved. We need to stop domestic violence. It leads to just very nasty things. Please continue to call. Even if it's just a family argument, it would be fine. Officers can come and just make sure everything's okay and they can leave. But we just don't want it to escalate into any type of physicality.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. I think we're gonna need to close out for the HPD questions soon. We're about half an hour on the agenda on the second item. I did want to include one for you though about the speeding cameras. So they've talked about turning the red light cameras, for people who are running red lights into speeding cameras in a number of areas. So that would essentially come with fines. Where would those fines be dispersed to, the revenue from those fines?
If I'm not mistaken, the red light monitoring cameras at this point in time is a private company. So initially, I think the monetary funds, I think, go to them. I'm not sure, but so all of the photos go to them first. They provide us the information, and an actual officer, right? An actual officer needs to review those footages to see if it's an actual red light run. And then we notify that company, and that company sends out the information to the driver or the owner of the registered owner vehicle of the vehicle for payment. Yeah. Now, in regards to the dissemination of the funds, that is going to have to be something that you might want to ask the city. We do not. Yeah. HPD does not control any of that.
I have it right down here to ask the mayor's representative. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate you. All right, Lieutenant Segucio, see you next month.
Absolutely. You guys have a great night.
We're going to move on now to the Board of Water Supply. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, so my name is Mitchell Harmon, Board of Water Supply. No main breaks to report for this month. For our general water announcement, we invite everybody to check out www.boardofwatersupply.com/protect-water, and there you can go to find our response in relation to the red bill of fuel tank crisis. So that would include public charge, drinking and monitoring well results, any updates regarding that situation, as well as conservation tips. And then I do have three questions that were asked last month, and I have some responses for you.
Can we pause for 1 second? Have you ever had Echo? Is this a auditory assistance device for someone who's in on the meeting? Okay. Whoever is logged on online, would you be willing to mute the phone or the device? Thank you very much. Please continue.
Okay, so question number 1 was from Board Secretary Janelle Chiaga, and her question was due to the concerns about the red bill spill. Has BWS offered water testing in the affected communities?
So I'm going to pause one more time. Am I just hearing like an echo myself, or is anyone else hearing that?
Thanks, Scott.
I hear it. Okay, thanks so much.
So testing, for example, like for TPH. And from our communications office, the response was the communities affected by the red bill fuel spill are all part of the Navy's Joint Base Pearl Harbor water system, which is outside the BWS jurisdiction. Please note that the Navy and BWS or Board of Water Supply systems are not connected. Board of Water Supply conducts drinking water tests weekly on its water sources near the red fuel tanks to detect any potential fuel contamination before it impacts our system. The test results can be found online at protectablewater.org. To date, there have been no detections of fuel from the red hill facility nearby BWS drinking water sources. So the second question was, what is BWS planning and doing to ensure that we have water for everybody's future? What are their resources limits? And I remember that you requested data. I don't have data for you at this time, but if you would like, I can still try and get some into you. So Board of Water has developed 8 watershed management plans for Oahu that provide short, mid, and long-range guidance for the sustainable management and use of the island's water resources to meet projected demands. The final draft of the East Honolulu Watershed Management Plan is available online at www.boardofwatersupply.com. And Logan has specific links, and I can also get you specific links if you would like that. Otherwise, you search our website. We are also updating the Waianae Watershed Management Plan right now, which just started. We have a meeting, water conference on Saturday. And the recordings from that conference will be made available on the 30-year water master plan, which comprehensively assesses Oahu's water supplies needs and the infrastructure to make decisions for the next water system for the next few decades. So one of the objectives of these plans is to protect and advance water quality and quantity. Okay, so then the last question, there is low water pressure on Green Street with all of the development and stresses on the system. What is BWS doing to improve the infrastructure in this area? And this was specifically in regard to community member Witch's house on Green Street, where he had water pressure tested, and it was considered acceptable by BWS, but it was still low. So customers who live from 1011 to 1099 Green Street will experience lower pressure at around 40 psi because of the elevation of the reservoir that provides water to that location. 40 psi is considered within the range according to BWS, within acceptable range according to BWS rules and regulations. Regarding our aging infrastructure, the BWS Water Master Plan recommends a pipeline replacement goal of 10 miles of pipeline per year. Since the Red Hill spill in November 2021, the Board of Water Supplies had to reprioritize projects. This was to address the issues caused by the Red Hill incident and the impact on the BWS system. The fiscal year 2025 budget will start focusing on moving forward again with a goal of 10 miles of pipe replacement per year. The budget will be reviewed by BWS Board of Directors at their May meeting. So that's coming up as well. And that will be streamed live on our website, and recordings are made from the Board of Directors meetings on our website as well. So that's all I had. Yes, questions?
Yes, so we'll start with.
Will the Pensacola pipeline, water pipeline going in, will that increase the water pressure of the Green Street area?
Okay. I'll take your response to.
Yeah. But you would think that would increase, but you never know, it might be on the other side.
Any other questions from board members in person? Seeing none online, please ask your question.
So I did ask that question, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't get your last name last time.
But, so I guess the key for us was just that, like you're saying that 40, between 35 and 40, but it's still minimum. I mean, where do you draw that line as to what that pressure is? Because, they just added 32 units, 26 units to that pipeline. And they added a couple more buildings right up that same street, Green. So, that pressure is very minimal.
Right.
What are you guys considering acceptable? Because when I came down, I think mine was like 35.
Can you repeat the question for those who are? No, the question you just heard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so what is the minimum acceptable PSI? And since we're adding more buildings to that area, how low is it going to get? I can respond to this.
Because I know that they're starting to put in pumps now to all the buildings. That doesn't help us.
Yeah.
They're just sucking more water out, to get to these units, which is what happened at that Ernest Street. So they put in, they couldn't get the pressure up to the third floor, so they put a big pump. So now it's kind of like, are they going to keep on doing that? And how does it affect us? Because I have a house, and what do we do? At that point.
Okay, do you have any other questions from anyone else in attendance at this time? Seeing none, thank you for the update, and please do get us that information. I think a lot of the conversations about the future in housing in Hawaii are partially being inhibited right now because there's a huge amount of area where people don't have agreement or mutual same understanding about the water capability of a carrying capacity. So it's very, very useful for a lot of these discussions about housing, water, pressure, and things like that. We get some idea.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're moving on to board business and presentation. The first item is a motion to support or oppose urging the city and county of Honolulu to request housing solutions to provide private security at 1506 East Street. Could you please, resolution? All right, well, that's coming up. Is anyone here today to speak on this topic in the audience? Okay. I know that you had a chance to mention it during the community concerns last time. I can provide you if you'd like to come up with a speak or something. That's the.
Okay, so we're requesting that at 1506.
Well, and if you prefer, you can sit down. You can stand or sit. Sure, you
Here's
They
the
catch
microphone.
you from over there too.
Okay. So
You're allowed to do that.
it's hard to hear. People can hear me if I'm closer. So what we're doing is requesting the private security guard be hired for 1506 Pequot. That's the halfway house that is on Pequot Street. So I'm here to speak on behalf of neighbors who have lodged multiple complaints from Hassinger Gardens, Pequot Holly, Pequot Atrium, and 1414 Pequot. These are a few of the buildings that have lodged multiple complaints. Previously, HPD in the last meeting said that they would think it was fantastic if there was private security at this 1506 Pequot because 911 is overburdened, there's not enough police officers. We presented this also at the Alamana Kaka'ako board, in which time HPD also expressed enthusiasm. They would like private security at 1506 Pequot. So when the neighbors provided us with some examples. This is a domestic violence incident. Well, okay, so here's a small example of the stuff that goes on there until all hours of the morning. Now, I realize this doesn't happen every day. It's not every resident. I'm not saying that needy people aren't worthy of our compassion. But the neighborhood can only absorb so much. HPD supports sharing the burden, private security. This will take the burden off taxpayers who right now are paying for excess calls going to the property over and over and over and over from complaints by multiple buildings. So this is what we're requesting. I think it's pretty reasonable that we do that. However, there's an additional thing that we'd like, which is we would like the house rules in the building to reflect construction of the neighborhood. Makiki, we all live pretty close together, but in this particular case, the building is very, very close to the adjoining building, exceptionally close. And I would say that
About 1 minute.
the manager at Housing Solutions Incorporated and the city should have known because of the extreme closeness. It's like having these people fighting and screaming and partying in the same room as you. It is as if they're living in terms of the sound and the whole experience of living in this. So we would like to request a private security guard be recommended for management to hire, not the city, the management, which is a private contractor at 1506 Pequot. This will not cost the taxpayers anything and will relieve the taxpayers of the burden of overabundance of calls to 911 and relieve the police burden there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you mind sitting to answer questions for me?
Sure.
Okay. So working together, I was able to draft up what a letter might be. In the context of this letter, I attempted to keep the very specific details a little bit light. I didn't want to overstep our mutual understanding as a board on the actual instances and just focus on that. What I went into a lot of detail into were the two categories of requests. So the form that this letter is taking, because we don't like to directly do some sort of neighbor dispute or write one letter to a neighbor, we're specifically sending this to the mayor's office and CCing the area city council member. So that's the form that this letter is taking. It'd be on behalf of the board. I would sign that. That's the current proposal before. I'm gonna go into actually, sorry, do we have a motion or any discussion? All right, Sam moves that we adopt the letter as written. Do we have a second? Speak up if there's a second.
Second,
Thank you very much, Claire. Okay, we're gonna open a discussion. First hand up was Corinne. Corinne, you're recognized.
Well, I would just propose that we CC the property manager or owner, since this directly involves them and is advocating that they expend resources. And otherwise, I'm in support of the resolution.
Thank you for that. I don't think we need to do an amendment. I'll just say as chair, if we pass this, I'll unilaterally share it with them. Unless people want to make a motion, you're allowed to still. I just want to know that that's a very good recommendation. I can adopt that and do it as chair. Okay, Nathan, you're recognized.
Okay, yeah, so I would like to hear from, before we adopt this, I might actually suggest or recommend possibly doing myself. We defer this until we hear something from the property itself. Because I received an email that just looking over this email again, sorry, that the break-ins and other neighborhood issues in the area are not caused by the tenants, but from the homeless who live under the freeway and on the streets of our neighborhood. There is a resident manager on property who handles after our issues, and there's no need for security, especially since it's not the tenants, but the homeless and drug addicted, again, that are on the streets of our neighborhood and under the freeway that cause the problems. It is possible that there is a bias against this property. I'm not going to point fingers here, but because of the because the property itself in question has pushed back against this, I feel it justified that they be able to speak up for themselves. And I know there are other folks surrounding this area that are working on the issue. So that's my point of view.
Okay, we got another hand up. Claire, did you still have something to say? I see you put your hand down. No, okay, go ahead, Sam.
You know, it's very, very easy to write a letter, throw it to a board member, and not come to the board meeting and speak about the issue. We had discussions last month on the park, which was about homeless issues and all this other stuff. And nobody came here to talk about it. I didn't hear anybody in the community that really, jumped about, the homeless, even though they were really down on not having toilets and stuff. So I don't see that as a big issue. I think management associations always don't want money pulled out from their pocket. I mean, that's a standard thing, but that's where they get their money from. They get the money from the city. So I would say pass the motion.
Thank you very much. We've gone to a little bit of a debate, so to make sure that we're moving this appropriately, I'm first going to call upon anyone else who would like to speak against the motion at this time. Okay, well, we've had a robust board discussion so far. I would want to allow the public to speak. I'll give you a chance to speak again in a bit, as soon as we hear from at least one other resident. Is anyone else wishing to speak to the resident? Go ahead.
Just a question.
Can you stand and come a little closer?
Because I'm coming late on this one, was the resident manager opposed to this and then actually bringing him to the board meeting?
Oh, I don't want someone else to speculate on the state of mind of the property manager. I think that might actually.
Oh, no, I was just seeing if that manager was actually, invited to discuss that, because if you're requiring.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you're requiring for us to, or, board to send a letter up to the mayor and do all this, was it brought to attention to the manager to get the security? And then also if he should be here at the meeting to have, say yes or no, or what his takes are. Just asking if that was done.
Could I respond? So, people need their job. They will defend their job. They will defend their turf. And somebody is responsible for managing the tenants, making sure it's clean and secured 24 hours a day. That's a big responsible job. And to admit one needs help jeopardizes your job. Okay? So I think it's worthy to repeat what Sam said, that building associations and these folks, of course, they don't want to spend money. So I would suggest we look to a third party that has really good data, and that's HPD. They know how many calls they get. They know who it's coming from. We know it's coming from multiple buildings. This is not one person, one building. This is multiple buildings that have been complaining for years, Now, we're not saying that it's everybody in the building. It's a few people at a time. It's constantly rotating cast of characters, kicked out, this, that, and the other. We think that private security is in many other buildings. Why not buildings in our neighborhood where there's poor and people protect the people, the occupants of that building, as well as the surrounding residents? It's good for all of them. The only people it's not good for are the management. They don't want to be seen as having not taken care of it. They don't want to jeopardize their contract with the city. Of course they don't want it there. Know that. Let's rely on HPD. They've said that they want it, welcome it, said it was fantastic. It's enthusiastic. The Alameda board, same thing, enthusiastic.
So I think I might cut off there, but thank you very much for that, for giving that context. Do we have any other attendees who want to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Nathan, okay. Before Nathan comes in, I want to note something. Q noticed a typo for the name community. There's a handful of very other small typos. In instead of among, potentially adding a, and I highlight some text in red that we might wish to remove, and text in yellow we wish to add just to make the letter the cherry on top. Just want to bring that up. Nathan, you're recognized at this.
Yeah, just a direct response to the question of whether or not the property itself responded to the question of whether or not they see the need for a private security. I have, again, forwarded to me a letter or email that was also sent to Senator Fukunaga stating that they do not need security. So that is the words of the manager themselves, be it by email.
Okay. I have one last comment.
Okay, go ahead.
There's nothing to see here. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Please move on.
All right, so do we have a motion to make some amendments?
Okay. I'll move.
Okay.
Allow amendments.
Okay. It would be to swap out, I guess your motion could be to add the text in yellow.
Right.
And move the text in red.
Typos and stuff that just be noted as friendly amendments.
Yeah. Okay, you want to note maybe a motion to allow friendly amendments? Yeah. Okay, motion to allow friendly amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so this is not the motion to pass the resolution, to be clear, the letter. This is not the motion to pass it. Do we have unanimous consent to allow friendly amendments? Is there anyone opposed or abstaining? I recognize Claire at this time. Are you opposing or abstaining?
Oh, I did. I just forgot to take my hand down.
Okay, great. All right, the motion passes to allow these amendments. So we work on that letter. Okay, now we have the actual letter itself. We've had a robust discussion on it. Should we do a roll call vote? And go on a roll call vote.
Okay, the motion is to support sending a letter urging the city and county of Honolulu to request Housing Solutions, Inc. to provide private security at 1506 Pe'ikoi Street with friendly amendments. Baldwin. Carson.
Aye.
Sharp.
Abstain.
Fujinaka. Granger.
Aye.
Tawano.
Aye.
Blink. Kojima.
Aye.
Lakalaka Manapuna.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Nakamoto. Peck.
Aye.
Salasa. Santos.
Aye.
Steelquist. Ross.
Aye.
The motion is adopted with 11 ayes, no nos, and 1 abstention.
Here's the nation. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next item on the agenda. Motion to support or oppose the proposed sale of the Pequot Mini Park. I suspect this is gonna be a relatively shorter agenda item. The news that I've gotten is that, and though if there's a mayor's representative, or sorry, if there's a council member who wants to bring something up on this, to correct this, my understanding is not on any upcoming agendas at this time. I would suspect it might still be coming up in the future. One of the big updates is the folks with the, either in the individual capacity or as an organization with a Makiki community garden are interested and they're currently going through applying with the Adopt a Park program for that area. So potential things we can do at this time is support the transfer to the private owner, perhaps continue the current opposition, and amend that we would support and adopt the park, or we could just wait. Unfortunately, it sounds like there was a family emergency, so those folks were not able to attend to speak on their own behalf. Our current standing position is that we oppose or we're actively seeking additional details. So we can also just leave it there. I'm opening it up to discussion now, starting with board members. Sam, you're right.
I think we should keep it on the table till the landowner, the people that, you know, what do they want to do with this property? And they can come here on the board and actually talk about it.
Okay. And I want to extend to the party interested, please come to this meeting. Tell us what some of your plans are. We promise we'll give you a fair hearing. I know that some board meetings get rather, I'm not going to use the word aggressive, assertive on these things. I can promise a fair treatment to anyone who comes and proposes plans in the county. We will be friendly. Might disagree, but I can promise friendly treatment. Okay, is there any other further discussion on it? Can I extend this? Oh, sorry, I see Claire. Claire, you're recognized at this time.
Thank you, Chair. Personally, I'm for leaving it alone and keeping it a clean green space. I like the idea of Adopt a Park. We don't have to put a concrete tower on every postage stamp. So I'm open to leaving it alone for now and getting more information about proposals for the property.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next agenda item. Appointing a board representative for the Community Representative Initiative meetings for Red Hill. This was requested, it was carried over last time. I believe, is board member Janelle with us this evening? Okay, I do see a Janelle online. So I'm going to recommend we don't do anything with this, but for information of those attending, as a board, I can make appointees to represent us for various organizations, and the board can choose to potentially block those if they don't like it. Think of it as like a Senate confirmation thing. And Janelle from our board had requested this appointment, but I think that's something that's better had as a discussion than unilateral. So I'm going to not make that appointment at this time. Moving on to resolution to request a full environmental impact statement for the Alawai Canal, University Avenue, Kalapoko Street residential neighborhood site. I understand that at this time we are joined by Chair Rabati, the Makili Neighborhood Board. Thank you for being with us today. Could you share a little information about this project, where your board's at on it? Please take it away.
You're muted, Paul.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We all, well, let's put it this way. We don't want a bridge going across the Alawai. That's a big monstrosity. I think that the days right now of fighting against the bridge over the Alawai are over. I think the bridge is on its way. But I think our board wants it to be a little more like the other bridges across the Alawai. And we have other resolutions. One is there going to be parking? Is there going to be supervision? So there's a lot of things, and I think the EIS should help us out with that. We've been bouncing this one around for 4 or 5 months now, so hopefully it gets to the end of it. Ian and I talked today, and there's a whole lot of things going on there that should be talked about that they're not talking about. We'll be back at it in our next meeting. I can't guarantee anything. All I can do is tell you what we know. That's about all I get to say about that. But appreciate you guys letting me speak it.
Thank you very much for coming, Chair. Speaking on this issue, I'm always a huge fan of board solidarity. Mutually, one of the reasons I asked the chair to come and speak is because I know sometimes we're one board that's a little cautious about voting on things outside of our immediate boundary. So I thought it was important to show that other boards are interested in us also potentially lending their voice. If you could please share the resolution, that'd be very helpful. So we did do a resolution based on a resolution similar to Chair Rabati's board. I will note their board, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, have not yet adopted a resolution. So I wouldn't necessarily propose our board pass this tonight, but I think it's something to be important that we begin to have a discussion. The whereas clauses have a lot of applicable information, and then at the end, your call would be for full environmental impact statement. This could be subject to change. For example, this is one that the board can adopt. So if there's new language they bring up, I would be aiming towards conforming towards the language of that. I'm going to open up discussion on that. Brandon, let's go ahead.
Yeah, it took me a long time of Googling and rereading to understand what the resolution was even about. And I think that could be fixed by putting something prominently in the title and or the first few paragraphs indicating you're talking about the bridge. You never anywhere link to or cite the project that you want to have reviewed. And I was really confused, like what are these residential neighborhood sites? And now based on your speech, it appears you're talking about the bridge project. And so I think that should just be clarified and maybe link to that thing that you want reviewed. And then I guess, from what I'm seeing on the city's website with regard to the bridge, they claim to, have complied with all the requirements of the NES and, the environmental impact statements and reviews that are required to comply with state and federal law. And it's been ongoing for years, this process. So is there something, some reason why they need to do a more comprehensive review and kind of start all over again? If the proponent wants to speak to that, I'd be curious to hear his view.
Chair, would you care to elaborate further?
Are you there, Paul? You might be muted again.
I'm still here.
All right, so, oh, great.
Yeah, I'm still here. I am.
You don't have to respond if you don't want to. Just give me an opportunity.
Excuse me, sorry about that. I had to close some windows. It's pouring in my apartment right now. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I only heard part of that. Sorry about that again. I can't walk too well. So anyway, sorry. I can't answer a question because I didn't hear what you
I guess
said.
why is more review needed in addition to the review that is currently underway? And that report hasn't been finalized yet, so we don't know the result of that review. But I'm wondering if you what your reasoning is for wanting further additional review.
Because that's what some of the people on our board wanted. Where it says proposed bridge draft, DEA. We talk about canal and things like that, and the bridge. We just want to get this one. We want this one resolved. We want this done. Like I said, next meeting that will be taken care of. I don't know what else to tell you guys.
Thank you very much, Chair Robotic. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Do we have
Really
any?
sorry about that.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you not finished? Oh, no, I think it was. Okay, great.
No, that's right. Right.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. We'll follow up if your board adopts a relevant resolution. Please consider CCing us for that. And we can consider it again later. Oh, please go ahead, Sam.
I do agree that the bridge that they're proposing is ugly looking. It's more of a mainland type bridge than it is Hawaii, even though they say it's the sail, all this kind of stuff. I think whoever designed it was not really local. So I do think we should write a resolution, but it should be a joint resolution from the different boards. Since they are the neighborhood, they should be the lead on it.
You know, the ugliness, one thing that really struck me and I was very surprised about was the proposed height of a bridge across the Alawai. If I remember correctly, it's 180 feet tall.
Yeah.
Putting it as tall as the largest buildings in the surrounding area, about half as high. I believe it was just under half as high as Diamond Head, I believe was the actual thing there. So for anyone looking at the view from Moilili or Waikiki, it certainly become the most prominent structure potentially in the area. That was quite when I read that, I was like, yeah, 18 feet tall, right? It's not very wide. About as wide as the building we're in, I suspect. And so I gotta tell you, Chair, that was what really kind of stood out to me. So we'll look forward to following the lead, potentially if your board at least hearing a resolution after your board were to take some action.
But it's just a lot more
Okay,
things.
with that, I think.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
please go ahead.
I was going to say there's just more things than just the bridge. It's the area around the bridge, the parking situation, on how a bridge that big is not going to disrupt anything in Waikiki. It's just something that we just can't get it done. I mean, it's all there is to it. And I appreciate you having me here, and I promise I'll come back next month.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
thank
you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is motion to establish new committees, designate chairs, add members. We have been adding people to committees. But we, of course, have not had a committee meeting in over a year. Is there any interest in establishing a new committee, or is anyone interested in sharing one of the existing committees? Sorry.
signs and then the committee's doing chairs.
Okay, I believe we had a resignation.
Yeah, Luana was their co-chair, but Kenny Huggins did it.
Okay, let's see, is the chair's adding members? I'm gonna check if anyone's signed up to join the committee since last meeting. No. Ken Peck, any interest in having a meeting related to the homelessness committee in the near future?
Sure.
Great. Okay, so the biggest thing that always holds us up is finding a meeting location. Corinne, do you know if the church you're connected with, much of the church you attend, is still interested in hosting meetings?
I'm sure they'd be interested in hosting, depending on when and, when it was scheduled and whatnot.
Great, thank you very much. I think this could be coordinated via email. Logan, am I able to be like a third person email about scheduling a committee meeting or?
Yeah, absolutely. Stuff like planning agendas and committees, that's all relevant to Sunshine Law implementations, yeah.
Perfect. So we can get an email going between the four of us and we'll be able to potentially designate a time for the homelessness committee meeting. Okay, great. Let's move on to approval of regular meeting minutes. First up is Thursday, March 21st, 2024. Any corrections at this time? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the March agenda? Sorry, minutes. Recognize Corinne?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's a lot of us who are on Zoom are having a really hard time hearing you right now. So just be aware.
Speak up.
I can't tell if this is the meeting where my name was misspelled again. I'm just trying to quickly find those minutes, but I think, which month's minutes were you? I'm sorry.
We're looking right now, sorry. Actually, we might have, yeah, we're looking at March right now. And I do notice in April, your name is misspelled.
So I guess I would endorse just correcting the spelling of my name, and then I would be fine.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. I should not have that. Terrible names being spelled. I just, for anyone else listening, this has become a recurring issue over the years, and I'm really sorry to Corinne about that. Okay, so we do notice your name is as misspelled in both the minutes and duly noted correction. Worthwhile getting correct. I believe the old saying about PR, and our board does get some PR that people don't care what's said about them as long as the name's spelled correctly. So I'll make sure your name is spelled correctly. Okay, so we do have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? No, was the motion? Okay. Did you motion?
Yeah.
For the April, for the March.
Should do both.
We should do motion to vote. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second. All right, any corrections besides the aforementioned corrections? Hearing none, I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Is anyone opposed or abstaining from this vote? Hearing none, we have our minutes. Okay. Next up, this agenda item might be moot, hopefully. But we did have a really fantastic joint special meeting in November about illegal game rooms. We have a lot of notation about what occurred, but those notes are not structured into the structure of an agenda. Minutes do not have to be nearly as comprehensive as what the NCO does. Ernest Cavallio of the Chinatown Neighborhood Report, which participated, has kindly offered to reformat the thorough notes into the format of the agenda, the start time, end time, etc. But in case he isn't able to take it on, because I know he's a very busy individual, is anyone on our board willing to just take those minutes and format them into the agenda structure of the various agenda items so that we can make sure we're in compliance and share with the public the really productive meeting we had back in November? Not hearing any volunteers. Understood. I'm going to move on now to the next item on the agenda. We do have a 9 absence letters for a board member. Logan, should we go into the details of this? What happened
Yeah, so it's like this for this is the first letter that's gone out for you guys. Whenever an absence letter is sent out from my office towards a board member, it could be a 3, and then odd numbers after that, 3, 5, 7 to 9. At that point, then the board can either make a motion to vacate the seat. I always think it's a good idea to let the individual speak on their absences. A lot of times there's other situations that the rest of the board might not be privy to. And then the board doesn't have to make a motion at all. It's 100% up to the board. Like you guys know, you guys are more than welcome just to move on and not take action.
Okay, thank you very much. And so we do have a member who has absence letters.
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
All right. Jeannie, would you be willing to speak to that?
Sure. I apologize for my absences, and I wanted to thank the board for their patience. The last 9 months has been really hard for my family. We've battled ovarian cancer, did radiation. Last time I was with everybody, I was probably about 70 pounds higher. I weighed about 70 pounds more. I had longer hair down to my waist. I had 6 more teeth over here, but we successfully finished our chemotherapy and our radiation. Also wanted to let the board know that even though I was absent from the meetings here the last month, we still were very involved in the Makiki neighborhood. We still gave out food to members of our neighborhood. We still provided with our security company a couple of the buildings in the area, our security with Aloha. We have over 200 cars on 3 islands, so we were still very involved in our neighborhood. And as a grandmother now, I have 10 children now, as a grandmother of 5. It is my desire to still be involved with the neighborhood. And so that's why I've reached out to Chair Ross, who's been incredibly kind and thoughtful and understanding with the matter. And whether you decide to support or deny, keep me on or not keep me on, I just want to come in person and let you know that we beat cancer. We are committed, and whatever you guys decide, we appreciate, our family appreciates your. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sam.
As someone who has had cancer, lost a kidney, and went through that whole thing, and I know exactly where you're coming from. I suggest that you keep her on the board. Yes, because I could see 9 months easily on a recovery cancer.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion or motions at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. City and county elected official reports. First up, we have Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative, our Executive Director of Communities, Sari Matsulara, I believe is in the room. It's so great to see you in person again.
I know it's been a while. I just want to thank the board for their indulgence as I have been away attending the mayor's town halls. And because of the weather, it got postponed today, so I'm here. And I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for your understanding.
It's not often the rain check works in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it does. And this time it worked in my favor. So what I passed out was the mayor's newsletter. On the front page is permitting, Department of Planning and Permitting. So permitting is probably one of the most time-consuming aspects of the development process, and housing and affordable housing is such an important issue for Oahu. And the mayor wants everyone to know we've made a lot of investments in terms of people, process, technology. It's actually the first time in decades that they're looking at systemic problems. We've invested in new technology that's been around. They've had the same technology for like 2 decades. They're finally investing in new technology. They're also investing in people. We have a shortage of people. It's hard to compete with the private sector. We're trying to make the job better, more desirable, kind of live with the salaries. And I just wanted to share one bill this session, House Bill 1758, would have allowed the department to promote from within. It's very unfortunate for engineers. It's very unfortunate that the legislature did not pass it. So we're going to continue to try again, but it's this type of effort that's happening to try and help ourselves that we really need. And unfortunately, the state legislature do.
So that's there, and for this neighborhood, we want to let you know there is Alexander Cartwright, the field, celebrates its 204th birthday. Um, when they take it to Alexander Cartwright, their father of modern baseball. That's in the newsletter as well. So there was, although I haven't been here, I hope you got responses because I made sure everybody responded to the requests that we had. So let me just walk you through some of the requests. It's unfortunate that the gentleman had left because the first thing on the report was a response by HPD about the issues raised on safety concerns about 1506 Cape Point. So HPD reports that from April 30th to May 7th, show officers checked the area around 1506 Cape Point to address those concerns. And during the checks, the officers observed no illegal activities or any other violation. So Lieutenant Pamela Martin contacted the resident manager and left a message to call her back. She has not had a response at that time, but the officer said that they will continue to make checks and take appropriate enforcement action when violations occur. So we just want to encourage, and I'm sorry that he's not here, encourage him to call 911 when they see violations, because HPD is there to respond, and we need it on record. Our Department of Land Management has reached out to HSI. The president and manager's name is Gabe Johnson, and he did respond to our Department of Land Management, and he said he could not substantiate those claims. So it's really important to get it on record with a police report. When these things are occurring, we need to have it on record because, he said, she said, it's really hard. So that was the report from HPD. They have another response report on homeless encampments. This is an issue raised at Pinka Ahmadu Elementary School, raised concerns about homeless individuals on the sidewalks in front of Walgreens and school. So HPD reported that District 1 patrol officers checked the school and the surrounding areas to address those concerns. From the checks, the officers found that the sidewalks were clear of homeless encampments and nothing was obstructing the sidewalks at the bus stop front of the school. So on 8/8, Sergeant Grant, when he spoke with Kika, that's vice principal, she mentioned that her main concern is the bus stop front of the school. So the officer said they're committed to continue to make regular checks. So that's the thing. You gotta catch it. It's happening, right? There was a traffic study request for the area by Chick-fil-A, 1056 Veritania. So TPP reported that the traffic study was not required for Chick-fil-A it was replacing a similar use, which is Burger King. Chick-fil-A site designed to maximize the on-site queuing capacity for their drive-through because of the existing zoning conforming use, only a building permit was needed for Chick-fil-A. So while recognizing the difference in traffic typically generated between Burger King and Chick-fil-A, the potential queuing from the drive-through traffic management plan was required. The TPM is a plan of how traffic will be managed by Chick-fil-A. The TPM details the operational procedures during the grand opening, the peak periods, and normal hours of operations. So I think that's done. Any suggestions or feedback on general traffic conditions, on how to implement long Pensacola should be directed to the Department of Transportation Services. That was the response for the traffic study. That's.
I got a comment on that.
We'll wait till the very end.
Yeah.
I believe that was all on my list, unless you have anything that's on the list.
We'll open up to questions. Sorry, okay, Sam.
It's Thomas. I've been on the neighborhood board for 25 years. And all the time I've been on the board, most problems we have with the Department of Transportation. Whenever we request for them to do something, they say, oh, we can't do that. You can't do that. We got to study. But they never tell us what they're going to do or why they need to do it. So what I think you should request that they do it anyway, because there is a parking problem. It is affecting the parking. And they need to follow the request of the board and not go in and say, well, Burger King was there before, so they changed everything. They went to, having cars pick up the food instead of having a parking lot. They used to have a parking lot where people would park and then they would go inside. That's not happening. That's totally different. I used to live right next to Burger King. I used to live right in back of it. So I'm very familiar with the traffic. And that traffic flow is not the same. And it's like comparing apples and oranges. You don't have the same flow. So I think they need to do something about it and not just kind of shoot it off and say, well, it's a restaurant, so we don't need to do anything. Okay. We passed that back. So Sam Mitchell said that. And I'll get you in after him. Yeah.
All right, we recognize Chuck.
Yes, welcome back, Denise. I brought this up in the past, and it's about the red striping or painting of the curbs along Pensacola. And I was told that there wasn't enough money or there wasn't enough resources or whatever. So right now, and not only in Pensacola, but you see it all over the city, all the red curbs are all faded. And in Pensacola, which is probably a microcosm of what's happening throughout the city, there's people that are just parking illegally all over the place. And I don't think we can ask the police to enforce it because it's technically not red. And these are places like in front of bus stops, egress, ingress of the buses, which is going to cause safety issues. The traffic flow on Pensacola is bad enough with cars parking on the right side as you're going down. So I was just wondering if there's anything that DTS, or DFM can do to expedite doing something about the repainting of these curbs.
So I vaguely, this request came up before, and they have responded to it. So I'm gonna have to dig up what that response was. And I think this was to DTS.
Yes.
So,
They said, no, we don't want to do it.
Actually, I'm gonna jump on this one. This is actually just not responding to the actual resolution motion at all. We already knew DTS said no.
Yeah.
They said it's not required because it's similar use. We've highlighted it's a similar use under the letter of the law, but it's a vastly different business model. And we actually requested the mayor override. Our understanding of the law is that this is not required unless the mayor overrides DTS. So our actual motion was specifically to ask the mayor to override. So DTS, so us, if DTS says the study's not required, and then we say we'd like the mayor to override, the DTS then coming back to us and saying, well, study's not required, is almost kind of frustrating for a lot of members of our community. I've already gotten several very frustrated but polite emails to me that highlight that this is a little disrespect of them because they weren't talking to DTS. They weren't interested in the response. We already knew DTS had already been heard. We had specifically asked.
so the response from the mayor's office is pretty much, they want to provided this response.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. That is a good clarification. Thank you very much. So now, no, not just dealing with DTS. So we have moved the buck one step or two steps.
The mayor's office deferred it to DP. They did get the request to.
I hope he realizes this. This goes back many mayors.
Okay. And I do want to move on that note. Do we have any other questions or comments from other board members? I'm not seeing any other hands up. Anyone else in attendance? Please come up and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Regina Thomas, and I'm a resident on Green Street as well. Is there, you mentioned about permitting and affordable housing and whatnot. Is there anything that states that's going to limit the amount of affordable housing being put up in the same area?
So there's regulations. On it. It's governed by the Department of Planning. So within certain zoned areas, they allow for certain densities. So I understand there have been some concerns raised about Ernest Street. I didn't get to really read all the ones on Green Street, but if you have those concerns, this is the forum to bring it up, and then we will take it up with the neighborhood commission.
So it's the
formal. That gives them particulars, some details for them to look at. But on the Green Street, if it's a similar concern to the one.
It's literally, so it is the Ernest Street, but you're hearing that the same owner of the Ernest Street had purchased, like you can literally throw a ball for another property. And he wants to do the same thing with that property. And I really don't think that our little community can handle another one of those Ernest Streets. I mean, the owner doesn't care. There is overgrowth that's growing over onto the sidewalks, you know. People from my building, which live right next door, you know, he hasn't finished the road, put gravel in the thing, and heavy rains like this, all the rocks get thrown into the driveway, and we're the ones that have to clean it.
I want to interrupt just to say there are some pictures supplied.
Right. So.
Yeah, I
No, 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 wait,
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
What's that?
So we have one speaker.
So, you know, it's
I'm looking at you later.
what my massive major concern is that I'm all for affordable housing. But can we just have one in one neighborhood, not 3, 4? Because our little community, we love respectful people. And it's not an affordable community. I don't know how else to explain it if that makes sense.
No, thank you. It's good for me to hear that feedback. For some of these that come up, so we can bring it up through the formal process. But these concerns are being funneled to the state permitted. And I'll get to your concern when you come up, but certainly I think provide us more details as to what it is so that this can go through the formal process.
I'm sorry, I'm new to this. What is DPP?
I'm so sorry, the time has expired. I give about 3 minutes, and we're one more generous board member, but we'll have to move on. If you can connect with her afterwards, I think questions like that.
Good part, I'm standing in front of you.
Got it. Thank you. Richard, did you want to speak on a different topic?
Well, I don't know if it's, so I provided some of these sheets out, that we sent out to senators just for the awareness, but as well as Gina mentioned it, she's actually even closer to where those rocks are getting damaged or whatever. But I think the biggest thing is what we're trying to understand is that we already know that it's so dense, and then to do something again, and then even think about doing something that I mentioned about the address, that 1044 just got purchased. It's still in escrow. Unfortunately, we don't know, but the people that live there were asked to leave. They had 2 months to vacate, and they were told that the same owner and Ernest bought that property, and they're going to put another affordable building there. We're like, how is that even going to happen? Because we're literally like catty corner. So we're all here, and I got a few other people, and we have some. And I didn't know what to do as towards, should we sign something? Should we just provide something to the board to start looking at? How can we make it more aware for people to understand that this can't happen so drastically in a dense area, as the officer had mentioned, all the parking and people parking for the fire hydrants and everything, and, it's just super dense. But then also to do something like this, and that's a 26 unit, no parking, and just no control. So I'm here to make sure that people are aware of it. And then a lot of our neighbors are having the same issue that, hey, man, we got to make sure that we, expose that. I just don't know what the formal way of doing it. And it was just for me to print something up, give it to you folks, and then see where that goes, see what we can do.
Yeah,
Thank you for that. Do you have a response?
thank you for your concerns, and I think, because this is part of what we call by right housing. And housing has been such a big issue, the shortage of housing has been such a big issue. The whole intent behind this program was really to take some of these older, one or two single family homes and then provide lower to moderate density apartments so that small landowners could increase the density of it and provide more housing, because we have an out-migration problem. We're losing our population, we're losing our intellectual capacity and our recent graduates. So they're trying to provide more workforce housing. But we need to do so in a respectful manner. So if like the gravel is an issue, there's no parking, those are some of the feedback that we need. Department of Planning and Urban. So I think this is a clear time.
One more thing, real quick.
I'm sorry, we really have expired. I measured the 3 minutes, I'm sorry. But if you're welcome to discuss after, the board meeting is not the only place that it takes place. And I actually really do encourage conversations happen outside, because that's actually where things get done. Here, we can only really focus our eye on things for 2 hours once a month. And I do appreciate you coming and participating. That's an important part of it. But yes, Luke?
Yeah, I just was wondering if I was able to pull up the old report that had the information about the red curb striping. I know this has come up a couple of months in a row as well, so if you want, I could read it, or I can put it up on the screen so Denise can read it.
Sure. Denise, if you want to read that, you're welcome to, or we can put it in the drive to read it. Up to you.
Yeah, it's because I can't remember what it said and I can't see it either if you put it up.
So Chuck, if you're there, this is in regards to your concern, yeah.
What did they say?
So this
What's
I can't see it.
second?
DFM does not paint curbs red. The only areas that have red curbs be the bus stops and OTS, along with transit services, TTS, paint those red. If DFM gets calls regarding curbs being painted red, TFM would have a SR to have the red curbs painted over.
So the way I interpret this is it's actually the state that paints the curbs red at the bus stops. If that's just how I interpret it. So that the Department of Facilities Maintenance doesn't actually do the painting of the red curbs. If they get reports of these curbs needing to be repainted, they would then create a service request to OTS, the state's Department of Transportation.
If I didn't just read that, I wouldn't. But thank you very much. I had to immediately look over at council member say, I'm like, here's a guy who knows the city and the county well, a city and the state. So I'm going to ask you later.
Thanks, Logan.
Okay, we're going to move on then. So I'm going to tell myself on this. I have a few comments and concerns and questions for you. So we heard from HPD earlier about the expansion from the red light camera pilot program into it also being for speed. And I missed that part. Okay, so my question for the Honolulu Police Department was, where do those revenues go? This was a question asked when the pilot program was first coming on. He said that it goes to the private company they contract with. At the time, as chair, I didn't directly oppose the red light cameras because, one, they can have some effects, and we know how bad some of these red light areas get running them. But I was told at the time there was just a small standard reoccurring fee for the use of them. So we're hearing from the Honolulu Police Department that the individuals managing these red light cameras would be getting their revenue from speeding these areas really raised a red flag. One of the big reasons why is this creates a really bad incentive where the, essentially, if the city were responsible for this, what you tend to see in those types of red light cameras or speeding cameras is notices that say don't speed here or speed camera ahead, because the focus is on high visibility, not ticket revenue, and to specifically deter these types of behaviors. Real briefly, there's a lot of cities that have experienced things like this. I'm just going to read a few from California. Bell Garden, Citrus Heights, Corona, Hartford. What they noticed was the contracts they received would do things like not allowing or get penalties to the city if they extend the yellow light camera time. And what we know is if you extend the yellow light camera, you have less speeding there, you have less red lights. But that also means you have less ticket revenue. So these companies, as part of their contracts, would sometimes require the city not to do things that would actually increase public safety. So I got really concerned. So I mentioned this before, but they said it's a fixed fee. The real basic solution here is if you just pay the company a fixed fee every month, almost none of these problems. If you don't, you begin to see some issues related to pay for play. And I think with some of the really strong coverage of New York Times articles and Civil Beat about certain types of pay to play activities potentially being at the works at the legislative level, I think it's a really bad time to be privatizing some of our public safety and taking some of the revenue that's coming from catching people speeding. I think things that everyone here actually probably agree with, and sending that out of state and not giving us incentive towards public safety could be really bad. And I'd really hate to see a red light camera pilot program, which I think probably was relatively effective, turn into a backdoor privatization of public safety that's outside our interest. I timed myself, I came in at 2 minutes and 55 seconds, but that's my rant for the evening. My red flag is raised.
So you're saying HPD reported that
the revenue goes to that
goes to a private mainland company?
Yes.
Is that what they reported?
Yes, again, if they get a fixed amount, no matter how much speeding is occurring or not, nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. HPD does need more. But if they're getting the revenue and not going towards public interest, tell me 1,000% opposed. I really want to ask, and there might be a board resolution if it's the case.
Okay, we'll get clarity on that.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, any other comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, we're at 7:43. We thank you very much. It's so good to see you again.
Nice to see y'all.
We're going to now move on to City Council Member Calvin Say. Thank you for patiently waiting on us.
Well, then, again, we're very educationally informative. But more importantly, getting back to the red light camera, I think all of you realize it's not the city county. It's the Department of Transportation at the state level.
Okay.
And as far as revenue or the fines and the forfeitures, violations, most you folks are all there to support the city in regards to getting a portion of the fine, the traffic violation. We're doing the work. They're saying it's because it has to go to the judiciary. That's where the money is going to.
Money's going to the judiciary.
Right. And no, it goes into the general fund for the traffic violation. That's why you have the Traffic Violations Bureau, which is attached to the judiciary. If you ever go down to district court, we pay you fine or you get your new license or whatever it is, clearing it, and your abstract. But other than that, I'll be happy to respond to any questions you may have. I can understand what Richard folks are going through. One of the provisions would be that this particular measure that you're talking about, the creation of this particular law, was created in 2017, Bill 7. Okay, it was just trying to support small landowners in consolidating their properties from a single family home or an apartment, two-story apartment, to a larger one whereby their families could also live there and rent out the balance, like what we see with B&B, bed and breakfast. That was the idea. Somehow it is more of just build this area up with units. That's it. Don't worry about parking. Don't worry about water. Don't worry about sewer, etc. And I can understand, Richard, your concern because of the pressure. I'll bring that up at one of the hearings with BWS also. But for all of you, BWS has been very cautious and the reason why BWS has been very cautious is because of Red Hill. So they're not going to give you an approval to get your water allocation, your particular project. until you get a certificate of occupancy from the Department of Planning and Permitting. So you got to go through the whole process before you get your water application. Okay, that's number two. All I'm trying to get to folks is that, yeah, we can look into it, we try our best, Richard, but more importantly, even when I got elected 4 years ago, I didn't realize District 5 was what we call the primary urban center. This is where the growth was happening, the increased density. And, you know, getting elected in 2020, first year 21, here we are, Denise and I, chasing 22,000 units short, homes and apartments. What do we do? And that's where I think the executive branch at the state level has its executive proclamation in regards to, you know, wiping out all of these provisions that we in the past have adopted protecting the overall climate of Hawaii. So I can sympathize with all of it. Things have changed so rapidly, so fast. It is now somehow catch up, but I don't want the catch up to be like what was happening in LA and San Francisco. Where you see the outflow of residents in the urban core going into the suburbs. The key will be how can we as council members, Jerry, 9 of us as an example, work together. Are you folks open, let's say Eric, that we'll do it in Central Oahu or development? Can we do it on the west side? The west side, they're already saying enough is enough. So where you want to build? The only thing we can build is going up. I can't go horizontal. And then what adds more to the problem is our infrastructure. And you folks are correct. Water, sewer, the big issue. Today, we had all these calls in regards to the flooding in Manoa again. But that's the whole community. I don't have the resources to go and change the stormwater drain system on all of these because it is all based upon when it was constructed or how big an area of a development, let's say for Manoa, with more and more home side, you create more of a stress on the present infrastructure that you had 40 years ago. So we are aware, Denise and I, but yeah, there's a lot of things that happened that she talked about. Yep, Chick-fil-A, traffic, Makiki Garden, homeless, break-ins, racing on Tantalus. You guys had a discussion on that too. Illegal dumping on Makiki Heights. The 1421 Pensacola Reso for public auction. It is still going through the condemnation process. That vacated, burnt house two times already, Sam. You know, I feel embarrassed. I really do. Why? What's wrong, Calvin? You guys can't even get that done after 4 years. But it was not only just 4 years while I've been in office, it was 4 years prior. And that's how slow the government moves and the judicial process. Okay, I need you guys' help later on the Pecoy Street Mini Park. We're not having a hearing on it. I haven't heard from the the future buyer. And we did ask Budget and Fiscal Services, what's the status? Status is, it's right now in discussion. Then we have, you folks have to be aware of, what's the 1111 development? 1111 Pecoy Street. And as board members, every year, these issues are gonna come up. And my point to you folks this evening is that be aware, that was a project that was presented last month. Yeah. Whereby some of our residents complained about the dust and debris that was blowing, you know, through the wind. But that's the 1111 Pecoy Street Development, which is the Tradewind Capital Group. Then I go into it personal. Roadside maintenance along Tantalus Drive for overgrowth. Growing encampment in front of Petco on King Street between Pensacola and Pecoy. I also have to say that we discussed the issue in regards to earlier, the complaints on the 1505 Pecoy housing, where I think Denise gave a response from the management company. Another one was constituent reports pulled across from St. Clement's Church on the corner of Wilder and Makiki Street. The issue is that 3 branches and their lead from their homeowner's property are obstructing the traffic signs. So that's where DTS comes in, go and check on it and investigate. Next one is damaged sidewalks at the intersection of Young Street and Kaheka Street across Pawa'a in Ha Park. Next is a question about road construction, installation at the bend of Lunalilo and Keamoku Street. Makai of H1 by Cartwright Field. One says, please, Calvin, if you could prolong the duration of the pedestrian signal and the crosswalk at the intersection of Veritania and Pensacola. Next was the Anapuni Bridge, State Street Bridge, homeless encampment. Made the request. Then we have from our good friend, rubbish cans needed on the Makiki Street, Wilder Avenue corner of Makiki Park. So they did put in more trash. Next, we have illegal dumping on Makiki Heights. We did talk to the 3 individuals. They also wanted the installation of no parking signs in certain areas of the area. Other than that, folks can ask me any questions that you folks have at this point in time.
Okay, thank you very much. It's about 7:51, so I'm going to encourage people to ask questions offline if they can wait for that. With that said, if it's a question that needs to come up publicly, any questions from board members at this time? Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, we talk about public housing, how the way to get public housing without building new buildings. Now, if you go at night and you take a look at a cheap building, you see how many lights are. You see that there's a lot of apartments that are not rented. So nice, the city went and passed a law, basically says, if you aren't renting this apartment, you have to pay this much money. You know, instead of just saying, well, you can do whatever you want, just as long as you pay taxes on it. It must be rented because we have the need. And if there's a need, there should be a penalty not allowing tenants.
Sam, let me say this. Thank you very much because the city council is addressing that issue. We call it the vacant property bill that we have. But we're trying to follow the British Columbia concept, but the issue will be as far as the enforcement side.
Right.
Okay. All right, any other questions? See,
One final one was, Nathan, I did respond to your concern. Nathan Jar.
Nathan, okay. I also do see, Richard, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Councilman,
yes.
The abandoned property on Pensacola. Now, you mentioned that it's in a judicial process. Could you give us, what exactly does that mean? Could you tell us more about that either tonight or the next time? I'm thinking, okay, there gets brought to a specific time and place at a courtroom, and then they talk about it, and then 3 months later they do it again. What exactly is this judicial process, and how long is it going to take?
I'm really sorry, Richard. Is that a question that you're?
I'll respond next time, Richard. I'll get you the answer next time with corporation.
All right, thank you.
Nope, thank you very much.
I recognize Hugh.
Hi, Councilman. A question about the, you mentioned about the illegal dumping and the people who live in their cars on the side of the Makiki Heights. I mean, as you know, it's a persistent problem. It continues to this day, to this minute. And I understand that there was a survey done at the side of the road to see. I think one of the issues was whether or not, who has jurisdiction over those spaces. And I believe there was a survey done by the city. I don't know if it was 3 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. Do you know what that survey was about? And did that clarify who has jurisdiction over the side of the road? So, I mean, the point is, our neighborhood just wants to have those.
I agree you all on that one. So, Councilmember, do you know who has jurisdiction?
No, I'll defer to my researcher that he knows very well, Andrew. He's online. Andrew.
Hi, this is Andrew, Councilmember Say's office. Yes, so the area that we were talking about is under DLNR jurisdiction. And yeah, it is the state DLNR jurisdiction. The reason why we send up city crews up there is because when we get constituency concerns, we let the Department of Facility Maintenance know. And then if resources are available, they do go up to Makiki Heights Drive to pick up illegal dumping.
Thank you. Yeah.
Did that answer your question? You,
The immediate question, but then, so that means that we should sort of press DLNR about this issue.
Yes, and
Let's bring that up with the governor's representative then. I'm
yes.
sorry, I just know we're getting very close to 8 o'clock.
I'm sorry. One more thing. Yes. So I did clarify with DLNR, and it is under their jurisdiction. And I did see that you've been reaching out to Barry on the state side to help as well. But yes, it is under their jurisdiction.
Okay. I mean, the garbage continues to accumulate, just to let you know.
Yes, and please let us know when the garbage is over there, and we do our part in send city services up there as well. So,
I mean, I don't mean to be sarcastic, but I mean, it's probably more efficient just to, there's garbage there all the time, and so we'll be contacting you every day, and so I mean, it almost makes sense to just skip that step and just assume that there's garbage being dumped there.
well, all I can say is you better be creative. Maybe something can be done, and we'll see. Okay. Thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, comments, concerns at this time, we're gonna, thank you very much, council member. Do we have a representative from Councilmember Taylor Santos Tam's office?
Yes, Robin Hensky here. Just to keep it brief. Hi, good evening. So I know Councilmember has sent over an official communication to Chair Ross concerning a topic that the board has been focused on for a while now, which is dog parks. And he posed the question to any recommendations the board has for on-leash and off-leash public parks that can kind of be fenced off and used as a dog park. So he's asked the board to have or submit input to our office by August 15th, if possible. Additionally, we have the newsletter, the newsletter's in the chat. And I just want to say a quick thank you to anyone on the board who went to the Coconut Rhinoceros Beetle meeting we had the other day. Anyone, the public, the board, anyone, but thanks anyone who attended. And that's my report. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I will share that the last meeting, we did pass a motion to support the establishment of an off-leash dog park at Widow Square. Does that work as a notification for you?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, yeah, we'll continue moving forward. Any other questions for Councilmember Taylor the Santos Tam's office? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you so much for that. We're going to now move on to Governor Josh Green's representative. I know Russell Payne actually is not here at this time. So Hugh, I realize that now. Please email me the concern you just shared, and I will email it to Russell. With that, we'll move on to Senator Kiro Fukunaga. Here's someone from Senator Kiro Fukunaga's office with us. Seeing none, we'll move on to Representative Della Aldolati. Tom Heinrich. We'll give him a moment to come back. Do we have anyone from Representative Scott Nishimoto's office?
Hey, Tom, we can't hear you right now.
Seeing none, we'll move back to Representative Della Aldolati. Tom? Oh, we cannot hear you. I'll give you another moment to work on it. I know Representative Andrew Garrett said there was another event this evening. Has Representative Andrew Garrett returned? Not seeing Representative Andrew Garrett. We're going to go back to Tom Heinrich.
Okay, try one more time. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I'm still at the Capitol, and based on what I've observed at your meeting and some other texts that I've received, it's the safest place to be with the heavy rainfall that's been coming in and out. So anyway, just real quick, The session, as you know, wrapped up on Friday, May 3rd. And we've been beginning to do a lot of cleanup now that the legislature is done, except for any possibility of special sessions. I know the Senate is definitely looking forward, probably in June, to its first special session having to do with confirmation of one or more judges. So that will be coming up. But there are approximately 187 bills now pending before the governor. Governor Green has until June 25th to alert the legislature of any potential vetoes. By June 25th, he's got to give us a list. And if a bill is not on the list, he cannot veto it by the ultimate deadline of July 10. If a bill is on that list, he doesn't have to veto it. He can give himself some more time, but that's the next major deadlines that we're paying attention to. And I noted in looking earlier today, there were a couple of other bills that were signed just yesterday. So that will be an ongoing process with everything being considered. Of particular note for, as Representative Della Bellotti is chair of the House Committee on Health and Homelessness, is that one thing that she had been working very hard on with the committee and was successful in finally getting into the state budget. So in House Bill 1800, now before the governor, was an increase to the base budget, which is the most important part of the budget, if you will, because it becomes recurring in terms of increasing that base budget for the Department of Human Services Homeless Programs Office. The Homeless Programs Office is charged with many of the programs that we are constantly talking about in neighborhood board meetings, et cetera, but it had not received any increase to its base budget in over 10 years. So fortunately, that base budget has increased. If I recall, the number is about 1.2 million in terms of the actual increase, which is actually just about 20% increase, if I recall. So anyway, with that, let me stop there if there are any questions. But otherwise, Chair Ross and members, if there's anything, always feel free to call any of our offices. We're still here and still working on a whole bunch of things. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have any questions, concerns? All right, well, Tom, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thanks again.
Okay, we're going to move on to the agenda to resident and community concerns. So we limit comments at this point to 2 minutes. And this is things that are not on the agenda. I will add, you've spoken on a similar issue at length with other individuals. Please keep the remarks a little more brief. Okay. Any resident community concerns at this time? Please go ahead, Eric.
My main concern is a new subject. It's the LFA issue that's happening throughout our state. But in my community, in Makiki, LFA, which is the little fire ant problem, it's popped up in a very large way on Round Top Drive and on Tantalus. There's 2 hot spots. One on, like I said, Tantalus, and one on Lower Round Top. The square foot, the area that the study has been conducted by the OISC committee. They found about 2.5 acres of land in the Makiki area to be inundated by this invasive pest. That's a very extremely bad pest to have in our island. So you can see what it does on the Big Island to the residents there. It's a huge nuisance. If everyone's been bit by a little fire ant, it hurts. It hurts for a very long time. I've been bit by them. It's not something you want in your community, and we're addressing it, taking action in my own neighborhood to treat my neighbors' properties because it's an ongoing treatment. We can eradicate them as possible, but we need community support, we need engagement. If people notice these ants, they're getting bit, please report them to OISC, which is the Oahu's Invasive Species Committee. And there's a group called the Ant Lab Hawaii. That's another resource you can tap, either Instagram or on the website. And they will send out a crew to do a study in the neighborhood and see if it is our ants, because there are similar ants that look similar that are red ants, but little fire ants are the worst of the worst. And we need to get them under control and eradicate them ASAP before it. Just keep an eye out for LFA little ants. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Potential agenda item in the future. Any other comments or concerns at this time? If you'd like to come up, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nina Burke. I live on Kinalu Street between Cartwright and the old food land. We have a real homeless problem on our street. And there are trends that happen there. Like a couple of people will come and then more will add to that encampment. And there's, I'm going to be careful and say possible drug activity to be obvious that there is. Lots of people coming. They attract a lot of people. There's a game room right down the street, and adults in my building are actually expressing that they're afraid at night to be outside smoking their cigarettes or whatever they're doing. It's a mess. There's litter all over. They are noisy late into the night, and I've had defecation off of our property several times. We've just put up gates finally because they always try to access our water, use our washing machines, plug their phones into our electrical outlets. And it's just a big issue now. Everybody's talking about it on the street whenever we see each other. And so I think like this is the first time I'm coming forward here, and I expect to be coming to all of the meetings now and bringing other people with me. So that's a heads up.
Thank you very much. Very sorry to hear that. Okay, seeing no at this time, I'm going to take my 2 minutes. Start the agenda there. So first off, I want to reiterate that we have some roles. So we did designate officers with posting to social media for invite. I know when we put things out on Nextdoor, Facebook, etc., we get more attention, we get more engagement, and I'd like to see us getting back into it. We designated this out because myself as chair can't always do this. Another role that we assigned was for someone to be checking in to make sure our letters and resolutions are going out on time. Since we put this on, I just have not been contacted. As chair, I take on a lot of different responsibilities, and we wanted to be able to designate some of these out just to make sure they're going out early, they're going out quickly. So I do want to remind people this was something unanimously voted on, expanding roles of officers to take this on. With my additional minute, I want to bring up that there was some discussion among area neighborhood board chairs about getting together to post a candidate forum. At this point, I will announce my conflict of interest on an area candidate forum, as I am a candidate on the ballot for House District 23, the seat being vacated by Scott Mishimoto. So I'm announcing the conflict of interest on a potential candidate forum early and often. So with that being said, the best practices raised by Lloyd for the NCO recently is that a neighborhood board should consider giving up their meeting time to post the candidate forum. This way Alelo can be there and we can get assistance. There's been discussion among other neighborhood board chairs about just doing this as a joint meeting. So the question is if our board might be interested in giving up our upcoming June 20th meeting to be able to have a discussion. Since we have city council races, there's a house seat. It would also be for maybe 1 or 2 other adjacent neighborhood board house seats. Then we can do a joint meeting with a bunch of neighborhood boards, potentially get a lot of media attention. And that's at 2 minutes. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just if you could announce your candidacy, you could do it just up to the room, see if there's anybody else who also wants.
Oh, very good point. Is there any other candidates in the room who are interested in announcing their candidacy at this time? Thank you for catching. Okay, I didn't really consider that my official candidacy announcement before this board. I did want to, because Tom Heinrich is here, if I'm mentioning a candidate forum, I did want to flag a potential conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I would not be chairing a candidate forum in which I'm a competitor. But, okay, thank you very much for keeping us on that. If anyone else wanted to speak to any of the two items I raised, feel free. Please go ahead, Sam.
I will take care of the next door thing since they do a lot of that stuff all the time. If there's anything that anybody wants to post on next door, just get in touch with me. I'm on it every day. I have like 10 different forums.
I see you're very active there, Sam, and so he's offering to take the responsibility off of the officer on that one. So coordinate with Sam. Did I see another hand up? Oh, please go ahead.
So I left you folks just a little write up on some of the things that we talked about, looking at some of the pictures and stuff. What I did wanted to make sure that, especially with this big rain, with that gravel and everything, it is super dangerous. So somebody will get hurt, and it's unfortunate we have to wait till that time comes up. Just, making sure, like I mentioned before with that gravel, that it keeps on sweeping down to the other neighbors. The other neighbors are actually sweeping it up and trying to take care of it for that building, but it's super dangerous. And I think after this big rain right now, not a good thing. I just wanted to bring that up, and I don't know how to take care of that. Just bringing it up, but
That's when we did flag it with the mayor's office.
Right. Yeah. So they're gonna pick stuff, but I just want to
keep us updated. Keep us updated.
Getting dangerous up.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Go ahead, please come up.
Sure. So on that same topic, actually, the building that I live in is mostly, it's a nice little retired community. Everybody goes to sleep at 8:30, like no noise. It's wonderful, right? But a couple of them have walked up and have tripped on the gravel. So it is an issue. I did make a report with that 311 or the concern on there, and I did get a call back, and she told me that there is an open building permit for that property. The owner himself has said that that gravel area is not his problem.
Even if he created it.
Yeah. He's openly said it multiple times that it's not his problem. So I don't know what to do. I would like to get it fixed. City and county, state, I don't care if you got a private contractor. I'm sure I can go around the neighborhood and collect money to privately get it done.
Romy, could you please pass this along to Denise, this concern this week or next week?
Yeah, but that gravel, it's gotta go.
DPP, I would report that property, and he says that's brought to DPP. Because by law, they have to have retainment socks that retain that gravel by law.
So they have the socks there.
Yeah.
No, I know, but they're not maintained. So they need to maintain it.
Yeah.
So DPP should, that's their really, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. We got the pictures, and we're going to get that report added to Denise.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming and bringing the community concerns here. Thanks for waiting 2 hours to be able to elaborate further. So we're now gonna move on. I recognize 3 hands up. I'll recognize Corinne first. I do not know the vote. Go ahead, Corinne.
Did I hear you to say that we could potentially change our June meeting to combine with other neighborhood boards to host a candidate forum this June?
That's right. Yes, we could.
Okay, so to do that, since it would be we would have to vote on this now, is that correct?
No, we would not have to vote. I, as chair, could actually just put that as our agenda, but I wanted feedback.
I'm in favor. I don't know if Nathan Char and any of the other people who had been previously involved in planning it would have the time, but our past candidate forums I thought were well run and useful. So if someone was interested in that, I unfortunately don't have the time, but I'm hoping someone would step up to organize that.
Great, thank you, Corinne, for the point as well taken. I'll get his hand up, but we'll go to Richard first.
Chair, thank you. Could you bring that lady back up about the homeless encampment on Cartwright? We really didn't get a chance to respond to her.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, hi, where exactly was this? That Cartwright Park? The baseball
It's,
field?
It's actually on Kinau Street. The address, I'm at 1454 Kinau Street, and we're like smack dab in the middle of it. It's between Keiki Kingdom, which is the old food land, and Cartwright Fields on Kinau.
Okay.
So it's like at the end of Kinau.
Yeah, it is a huge problem. There's other encampments, so.
It is.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
contacted HPD as often as possible. And just wondering what other resources, you can refer us to help.
Well, so what I will tell you is I'm working with the city and the state to do a tour of the area related to where some of the biggest homelessness encampments are and be concerns. So I'm adding this to my list. I'm just going to defend, all the people who work in homelessness outreach for the city and the state for a moment and just say they work incredibly hard. This is massively under-resourced. We just heard they hadn't had a budget increase in 10 years. So the big flaw is the flaw in all humans, which is we deal with what we see first. So what I'm trying to take on for our neighborhood board is to literally drag the folks in charge to these sites and hope that the great work they're doing gets focused there a little bit more.
Thank you.
So that's the best I'm going to be able to do. But it's really tough. I'm really glad you bring to the neighborhood board. I'm going to see what action we can do in response to this on our side. And, I'll make sure that Denise is briefed on this one as well.
Okay, and I just want you to know, for the record, we want to be compassionate to people who, especially mental health issues or physical issues, but there is a lot of drug activity in that little area. And again, the game rooms are right on the corner there too. So I don't know what's drawing it, but that's what we're stuck with.
I suspect you've been attending the neighborhood board, so my strongly stated stance on illegal games of the sport may be influencing what you're saying this evening, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to move on to Nathan Shar, and then we're going to close out community concerns. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, as Corinne indicated, I'm going on a trip, but I can at least try to email the various candidates since I believe they're all publicly, or at least all their contact information is publicly available on the state website now. So I can at least try and get in contact with them and see if they'll show up. They're able to show up on June 20th. But it would be good to have somebody, I guess, work on, I don't know, questions or something or some such to organize how exactly we're gonna have them do stuff when they show up.
So interesting note on this. Normally we need a committee or a PIG. But what's interesting about this case is if it's a joint meeting and that we might be able to let you just work with some other board members from the other boards if they sign up, in which case we don't need to form any special PIG or anything like that. I could put you on the agenda as like a chair or someone else to actually handle such a thing. And whatever you worked on with that is the kind of thing that could occur. So I will follow up with emails with you soon, Nathan. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because because I'll be on my trip. Basically, I have to do everything by email. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, that concludes resident community concerns, community reports. Do we have an update for the MakikiLower Punch Bowl Neighborhood Security Watch? Chuck.
Chair, I'm going to defer my report till the next meeting.
Thank you very much. That may be July. I know that Steelquist isn't here, so we won't do the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization. We're going to move on to announcements. Next regular meeting is scheduled to be held Thursday, June 20th at 6 p.m. at Makiki District Park and via WebEx. Broadcast of this meeting can be viewed on Alelo Focus 49 at 9 p.m. on the first Friday of the month and again on the first and third Sunday at 3 p.m. For social media, you can follow us at facebook.com/MakikiNV. And the unofficial Nextdoor page of this board is now Sam, and you can potentially follow him for updates on the agenda. Board meeting contact information is available on the website. Is there a motion to adjourn? Any abstentions or anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We are adjourned, 8:20 PM. All right, folks, thank you for being here, a part of this, I think, pretty productive board meeting.